that this movie came out 27 years after the Law and Order episode,
2022.
so it's probably a stretch to say that they're still connected. Wait, is that fucking B.D. Wong?
I'm the director of Rainbow Puppy's Broadway musical.
B.D. Wong from Law and Order Josh's musical?
I'm not entirely comfortable labeling the suspect a serial killer.
We want you to be the star of our Broadway show.
Holy shit!
What's up guys, it's your boy Evan, and today we would be reacting to another alexbale special. And we all know he's done with SpongeBob theories, and he'll be checking out or diving into other shows, and this time it's gonna be Blues Clues. I have a basic idea about Blues Clues. I know it's a kid show, but I think I watched it once or twice, realizing that this is kind of a show for my baby cousin or something he can watch, or you get me. So I was like, nah. So pretty much I know it's a kids show. It's a kids show, but what theory is alexbale going to bring out from this one? I have no idea. That's why I'm excited to check it out, and that's why I am checking it out. So if you like this reaction, you know what to do, man. Like, share, subscribe. Run it up to 1k, man. Run it up to 1k. We're at 3 something, so hopefully if we can get 500 subs before December 31st, that would be a huge dub for me in my books. That would be a huge dub. So support the channel. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. It costs nothing. It doesn't cost a dime. And yeah, without any further ado, let's get right into the reaction. Why Blues Clues is a fantasy inside of Law and Order. I've heard of Law and Order, but I don't think I have watched it or check it out. I might be dumb and someone might call me out in the comments, but I think it's a show. Law and Order is a series as well. So I know about it, but I've never really watched it. So let's see if I'm gonna get some things in this one. But I know Blues Clues, yeah.
Hi there. Blues Clues is an educational children's TV show
I
about a
like
man named
the
Steve who lives in
editing,
a
yeah.
magical world where he spends his day talking to inanimate objects, jumping through picture frames, and
Yeah.
trying to find clues
Yeah, I
to help
remember.
understand his magical blue dog.
Yep.
Law and Order is a gritty, realistic police procedural / legal drama that involves New York
So
City
it is a
homicide
show.
detectives trying to solve murders
It's a
and
series.
prosecute criminals.
Oh.
These two shows are very different. You could not find
Yeah,
two
they
shows
are.
more polar opposite than Blues Clues and Law and Order.
I mean, Blues Clues is colorful and bright and cartoony, and I mean, based off the visual look, yeah. Blues Clues bright and all, and Law and Order is
And yet,
gritty
despite
and
this,
dark.
Not only do I believe that these two shows exist in the same universe,
No
but
way.
I'm also going to be proving that the entire
No way.
Blues Clues show is actually just a fantasy inside of the mind of a single Law and Order side character. Yes,
No
I am
freaking
being serious.
way.
I know that sounds crazy, but
I've not watched Law and Order,
because
but
I'm pretty sure
I
that
don't.
I have discovered a 29-year-old secret that has never been talked about before today. Get ready. because
Okay, this is why I love alexbale's videos, man. Let's get it. Now I'm interested, even though I've never watched the Law and Order before. Or Blues Clues. Oh, these are the cast or the creators of Blues Clues, I'm guessing. I like the way it is
By
edited, the
far,
way it
the
is
most common type
composed.
of fan theory is the dream theory. The
Okay.
idea that everything happening in a story is actually all just inside of a character's head.
Okay.
Whether they're stuck in a coma, or they're dreaming, or
Yeah.
hallucinating, or they're actually dead. Pretty much every piece of media
Edit and
has
edit
some
theory.
kind of dream theory. And it's sort of the
Oh, really?
low-hanging fruit of fan theories. You can just apply it to literally anything, and usually there's
Oh,
never
true.
actually any evidence besides, whoa, this show is so crazy and unrealistic, that
Yeah.
must mean it's a dream! Ah! And
Makes sense
surprisingly,
to
the
think
show
that way.
seems to have the most of these types of fan theories is Blues Clues. You got
Okay.
Steve is actually schizophrenic, Steve is actually in a mental asylum, Steve is actually a drug addict, Steve is actually in prison, Steve is actually a murderer who killed his parents. Oh my
Is it
God.
because of
Even
the fact that
made
I
a
can-
parody of these theories back in 2017. So yeah,
Oh.
it's a pretty basic, normal kid show. Steve, a 30-year-old schizophrenic who killed his parents, pretends to be a kid. You know, that was before I dedicated my life to making fan theories about kid shows. And look, I understand
Is
the
it because he
appeal
can
of
come
these
up with
types of
imagination,
theories.
or
It's
is
fun to take something
imaginative?
innocent from your childhood and give it a
Turn it dark,
edgy
yeah.
plot twist. That's kind of literally my job right now. But why are there so many of these theories about specifically Blues Clues? Well, I think it's because everything about this show has always felt
Weird.
fake.
Fake,
Steve
okay.
is the only real person in this
Yep.
world. He looks like a young adult, but he acts like a child. And he lives alone in a house where
That
he
actually is
spends his
kinda
day
creepy, I can't
looking at
lie.
picture frames or talking to unseen voices or inanimate objects. It just kind of
That actually
sounds like
feels
I'm describing
creepy.
someone who is experiencing some kind of false reality. Even the way Steve moves around is strange.
Yeah.
He never actually leaves the room. He just kind of pretends to walk in place while this fantasy world moves
It's
around
moving
him.
around him.
Obviously that
Yep.
was more of a filming limitation, but it still adds to this feeling of fakeness. But other than
Okay.
these surface level weird vibes the show gives off, there's never actually been any strong evidence to prove one of these theories. And believe
And
me,
that's why
I and
you're gonna
others
prove
have
it.
looked. It has been
Oh,
28
okay, can't
years
prove
since
it.
this show first came out. You know, you'd think if there was
Oh.
actually some kind of smoking gun here, we would have found it by now. But what if that's because we've all been looking
At the
in
wrong
the
place.
So
And that's
the
where
other
Law and
day,
Order
I stumbled
comes in.
upon an interesting piece of Blues Clues trivia. A
Okay.
year after Steve Burns filmed the Blues Clues pilot, he had a small role in an episode of Law and Order. And I thought the
Oh.
idea of seeing
Oh, it's the same
Steve from
actor.
Blues Clues in a gritty, realistic cop show was kind of funny. So I decided to track down the 1995 episode titled Cruel and Unusual. Just a heads
Okay.
up, this episode deals with some pretty serious subject matter, so please proceed with caution.
Okay. I'm ready.
There can be a ton of reasons for not having.
In this episode, Steve Burns plays a kid with autism named Kevin Jeffries.
Morning, how are you? Great. What time is it? 10:15. No, it's 10:18.
We learn that Kevin has trouble communicating with others and
Yeah.
often harms himself. So his parents sent him to live in a children's behavioral clinic.
Just what was the behavioral clinic doing for him?
When Kevin was 10, he started to hurt himself.
We didn't know what to do. We couldn't keep Kevin here. We had to send him away.
We later find out that the doctors at this clinic were horribly mistreating him
Yeah.
by giving him intense electroshock therapy and forcing him to wear a sensory deprivation helmet
Damn.
for days.
Damn.
Kathy, in this helmet for 3 straight days. This
Damn.
helmet cut off the blood supply to our daughter's brain.
The episode starts with Kevin
Nah, that's-
after he's escaped from the facility.
Oh, nah, that's-
Tragically,
nah, man.
he gets arrested and later succumbs to the injuries sustained from his abuse and dies.
Oh my days.
And the rest of the
Ooh,
episode follows
that
the
got me
detective
chill.
investigating his
Cool.
death.
I felt chills.
This is a very sad and serious episode, and it
Nah,
deals
for
with
real, I
some
felt
real
chills, man.
systemic
I can't lie.
issues that are still a problem today. And like I was saying, this show is
Can't tell, but
clearly
my-
very, very
my
different
arm's
than
shaking.
others. But what I find interesting about this
So
is that
creepy.
for years, people have been trying to prove that Steve is actually in prison or a mental
Oh.
facility, and now we have this piece of
There's a
media
connection.
where we see Steve's actor in that exact position.
Yeah,
and
there's a
as far
connection.
as I'm aware, no one's ever really talked about this. I mean, sure, Kevin's not
The
schizophrenic, he has
similarities in the
autism,
theories.
But seeing as how he was being abused and put into sensory deprivation for
Mm-hmm.
days where he couldn't hear or see anything, you can kind of imagine that anyone in that position might try to escape to some kind of fantasy inside of their head.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought this was an interesting coincidence, but at the end of the day, that's kind of all it was. Like, obviously, just because the same actor shows up in 2 different shows doesn't mean they're actually connected. But then, I took a closer look at this episode, and I
Okay.
started to notice more and more weird similarities between Kevin and Steve. At first,
Oh my days. I'm meant to be having a snack with me right now while watching this, but probably next time, man, because I am having too much fun
It just started
right
with
now.
some little things. We are told by Kevin's parents that he was learning to draw.
Thanks to him, Kevin was learning to draw.
And in every episode of Blue's Clues, Steve draws in his handy-dandy notebook.
Our handy dandy
Ooh.
notebook. Let's draw a rectangle, and there. Cheese.
Oh.
Okay, but so what? Lots of kids like to draw.
Except if we can get the same, notebook in Law and Order, then boy, Alex Bale, you are a freaking genius, or something related
Put
to
them in a
that.
chair, and then we hold them there using soft cuffs.
And
Soft
in every
cuffs.
episode of Blue's Clues, Steve spends a lot of time
In a
his
chair.
We're ready to sit in our
Thinking chair.
Now that we're in our
Thinking chair, and he also did
think.
And then
They also did the
Kevin's
symbol,
Steve's
like-
facility, he kept asking
like a helmet or something on his head.
What time is it?
10:15.
What time?
How you doing today, huh?
What time?
Now, it is common for some people with autism to rely on specific schedules or
Okay.
routines, but what time it is also really important in Blue's Clues.
I never watched Blue's Clues. so-
Steve has a cleanup time,
We just had
Oh.
cleanup time.
a nap time.
It's Blue's nap time.
Now it's time for so long. There's a talking clock. And
I'm
most
hearing
of all,
voices behind me,
every
man.
day, Steve
Kinda
has
scared, man.
Mail time.
Hey, Blue, the mail's here.
So yeah, there's some weird
Yeah,
similarities
similarities.
here, but
Mhm.
nothing actually concrete.
Yeah,
I didn't really
like if we
start
can
to
see the
take
notebook
any
or
of it
something.
seriously until I realized. After Kevin escaped, we are told that he went to a movie theater. And guess what he did in the theater?
Movie
Wow.
started at 10. He was out of here by 10 after 10. Got out of his seat, walked into the screen.
Kevin got out of his seat and tried to walk into the screen. Doesn't that sound
Yeah,
exactly like
walking into the
Steve Blues
picture.
doing into a picture?
Blue's good, do we can too.
Got out of his seat, walked into the screen.
This kind of feels like more than a
Yep.
coincidence.
Yep.
So this is when I
Three
first
patterns
started to
already.
consider,
It's
is it
more. It's not a
really possible
coincidence.
that Kevin Jeffries
It's
from
connected.
Law and Order is the real Steve, and Blue's Clues is all a fantasy he
Yeah.
created to escape his abusive reality. Okay, I know you're not convinced yet, and to be
I'm
honest, neither was I.
50-50.
But
I'm
don't
50-50 now.
You're just
50% of me is now
Kevin's
convinced. I
behavioral
can't lie.
clinic is in New York City, and the one time
Dick Wolf.
characters actually leave the Blue's Clues fantasy world and go to the real world, they
Oh,
end up
really?
in New York.
Blues Clues in New York City? This is epic!
Also, in the very first episode of Blue's Clues, we can see a newspaper from the New York Times inside of Steve's
Making
house,
a
strongly
book name.
implying that's actually where he lives. We can also see objects from Blue's Clues in Kevin's life. In Kevin's
Okay.
parents' house, we see a very large salt and pepper shaker, just like Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper.
Hi, Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper.
Hello, Steve. Hello, Steve.
And in the clinic, we can
Oh.
see a red bucket, just
Yeah?
like Steve's friend, Pale.
Hello, Pale.
Hi, Steve.
Also, when Steve left the show to go to college, he left on a blue bus.
Okay.
And when Kevin escaped the clinic, in his pocket he had a schedule for the Greyhound,
Here you go.
Amtrak
Oh.
Greyhound schedules.
which is also a blue bus. Alright, those are some more interesting
Yep.
connections, but
Yeah,
we're
but it's
probably
still not concrete.
completely sold yet.
Yeah.
right?
And who is the other
Check this
dude?
out. When Steve eventually left the show to go to college, he was replaced by his younger brother Joe,
Oh, hi. It's me, Steve's brother Joe.
and later Joe got replaced by
That-
their cousin Josh.
It feels creepy, man.
Josh.
Is it
Not
just me? I mean, me personally, I don't see how children or kids would find this entertaining, because me personally, when I watch these kind of shows and the way they're talking, the way they interacted, it creeps me out a bit. It kind of creeps me out. I don't know whether it's just me that feels this way.
only does Kevin also have a younger brother, but at the clinic there is a
Oh.
nurse named Joe
What's your name? Joe Garvey. Joe Garvey, you're under arrest for assault.
and an
Oh.
occupational therapist named Josh.
Take a look at the amended complaint. An occupational therapist, Josh Bingham, was dropped.
I think that Kevin is taking
Yeah.
aspects from his real life, like the objects or the names of the people working at the clinic,
Yeah.
and applying them to his fantasy. Also, this one is less impressive, but the
Yeah.
name Kevin is also the name of the Blues Clues UK host.
Hello out there. It's me, Kevin.
Also, check this out. Kevin's behavioral clinic has the same initials as Blues Clues.
BC.
Huh? That
Kevin's
one's also not
Blues
that impressive, I
Clues.
know.
Kevin's
But wait,
B.
wait.
I can see that it's not concrete. It's not all. It's not like solid. Like put a stamp on it. You can't take it away that this is not coincidental. You get me? But still, it's still fun. I can't lie. It's still fun. Still fun.
Kevin's head. Then why does the main character of his fantasy keep changing?
Yes.
Come on in. Hi.
It creeps me out too, and it creeps me out.
Well, at
It
first,
creeps me
I
out.
thought maybe Joe and Josh
I'm
could
creeped
actually just
out right
be
now.
two different kids who took Kevin's spot in the clinic after he died. But
Oh.
the clinic gets shut down at the end of the episode.
You made them close the clinic.
So they would all have to be from Kevin. But
Yep.
why? Well, we're told that Kevin has tried to escape from the clinic before.
Well, we called the police this morning as soon as the clinic told us that Kevin ran away. He's done this before.
So what if every time a host leaves Blues Clues,
You're running away.
it's actually Kevin trying to escape the clinic, and when he's inevitably put back inside,
He's done this before.
his fantasy resets with a new Blues Clues host.
Hi. Come on in. Hi. Come on in. Hi. Come on in.
Okay,
That
so
is super
there
creepy,
is
man.
a surprising amount of connections here. You can't
Yeah,
deny that.
yeah, I
But
can't deny
it
it.
still kind of feels like we're missing something. Like, I can
Yep.
see why Kevin would imagine a fun, colorful world to escape his abuse, but why is Kevin's fantasy so focused on playing a scavenger hunt game with a blue dog? As far as I can tell, there's nothing similar to that in this episode. Well, I think to answer this, we need
Okay.
to take a closer look
Okay.
at what Blues Clues actually is.
All right. I'm hooked. I'm ready.
Let me join
What
you.
is with these ads, man? Come on, they piss me off.
At the beginning of the Law & Order episode, Kevin's doctor explained to the detectives why Kevin harmed himself.
It's pretty
Okay.
common with some autistic children.
Why?
It's frustration because of their inability to communicate.
Oh.
It's frustrations because of his
Inability to communicate.
Now,
Okay.
autism is a spectrum, and it's a lot more complicated and nuanced than the way TV shows like this tend to portray it. But it is true that some people with autism have varying levels of difficulty communicating. And I think this becomes interesting when we take a look at what Blues Clues actually is.
Oh my days,
Well,
I'm
what story should we
sweating
tell?
now.
Great idea. We'll play Blue's Clues to figure out what story Blue wants us to tell.
It's a game where you try to understand Blue, a character who has an inability
To talk,
communicate.
to communicate.
This is literally the entire premise of
Yeah.
the show. So I think that this is telling us that Blue represents the side of Kevin who struggles to communicate with others. Okay, but where did the idea for a blue dog come from? Like I said, I couldn't find any references to dogs in this episode. The closest visual was this vaguely blue drawing in Kevin's room that I can't
But,
really make
yeah,
out.
looks
or
like a
this teddy
spaceship
bear
or
that
some.
kinda had a similar pattern to Blue, but nothing really concrete, which is weird because Blue is such a major part of this fantasy.
Yeah.
But then I realized it doesn't matter if we can't find a direct connection, because in Blue's Clues, Steve didn't actually adopt Blue. In
Oh,
a
really?
flashback episode of Blue's Clues, we learned that when Steve was younger, he read a book about a blue dog,
It's a book about a puppy.
which caused Blue to magically come to life. And I think this is also probably what happened with Kevin. We see that the Children's Behavioral Clinic is full of what we can reasonably assume are children's books.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a book in here that also gave Kevin the idea for a blue dog, just like Steve. In fact, this idea of a children's book giving Kevin ideas for his fantasy is exactly what we see at the start of the Blues Clues intro.
Hi, it's me, Steve.
Every single episode of Blue's Clues starts with a stack of children's books in the real world before going inside of a book called Blue's Clues, where the episode
in the episode of Law and Order
the show
too.
literally tells us every episode that Steve's world is fake and comes from a book.
Real
I think
world.
The real world full of children's books is actually
Don't tell me
Law
we're
and
gonna
Order
find the
Behavioral
book.
Clinic. And if this is true, that also
Then
means
where's the
there's
book?
probably a book literally called Blues Clues
Yes.
in the clinic that Kevin is
Yes,
basing his
and
fantasy off.
if you can find the
even
book,
if we never
Alex
see
Bill,
a
man, you
blue
are a
dog, or even
goat,
hear the
man.
name Steve in this Law and Order episode,
If
Kevin
you
still
can
could have
find
gotten
that
all of
book,
those ideas from an existing Blues Clues book in
you
the clinic. Now, the only thing
are
that doesn't really fit with this
freaking
idea
amazing.
is mail time.
Hello, mailbox.
Hi, Steve.
Okay, we can't find the book.
For you.
Yes.
Sure, maybe the talking purple mailbox was just something from the book.
From the book,
but there's
okay.
no way Steve watching videos of kids in the real world would be something in a children's book.
Look, it's a letter from our friends.
Hi, Steve. This is where we play with our blocks. This goes that way.
So, what are these videos? Well, the behavioral clinic is full of other children.
Want to see what a good day is for some of these kids?
So, I think these videos are Kevin's perception of the other kids.
Oh.
There is just an undeniable amount of connections and similarities between this episode and this show.
Yes,
It just
I can't
really
deny
feels
that.
like
I
Blue's
cannot
Clues is
deny
all a
that,
fantasy
to be
inside of
honest.
Kevin Jeffries' head. But at this point, you're probably wondering, could any of this actually be intentional?
Is any of this even real?
Like, if this theory is true, does that mean that the entire plot of Blue's Clues was actually secretly based on this one random episode of Law & Order? I'll admit, that seems unlikely, especially since this episode came out a year after the Blue's Clues pilot was filmed. I think it's a lot more likely that if this was intentional, then it was probably just the Law & Order creators deciding to secretly connect these two shows
like
on
put
their
Easter
own.
eggs and
Maybe
all.
just because they thought it would be funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's some weird mixture of both. Because even years after this episode came out, Blue's Clues does still seem to weirdly line up with it. I honestly don't know. And to be fair, this could all still just be a bunch of weird coincidences and that's it. But regardless of the creator's intent, it still works, you know?
Yeah, it does.
And it makes talking about Blue's Clues a lot more interesting. And
It does, because honestly, before watching this video, thinking about Blue's Clues and then Law and Order, you're like, how does it, how is there a similarity? How does it correlate in any way? But then I feel like it's just Easter eggs. They're trying to put Easter eggs for people to catch it, and probably unfortunate that nobody did until Alex Bale, did his thing and he figured all these things out.
And
but it's still pretty
at the
cool.
End of the day, I think that's kind of the point of all of these edgy Blue's Clues fan theories. And this was originally where I planned on ending this video.
But there's always a plot twist.
But there was still
Come on, give me that plot twist, man.
That was bothering me.
Talk to me, Alex.
If Blue's Clues really is just inside of Kevin Jeffries' head,
Okay.
then what about when Kevin died at the beginning of the episode? I mean, I guess we can just say that the entire Blue's Clues timeline takes place before Kevin's death, and if the show ever gets canceled, then we can just say that that is when Kevin died and the fantasy ended.
Yep.
But what if I told you we've already seen Kevin's death inside of Blue's Clues? So, I recently watched the new Blue's Clues movie from 2022 called
When was
Blue's
this out, though?
Big City Adventure. And not only did I find even more
Don't tell me they're gonna
similarities
show
between this
the
movie and
scene
show,
of
but
where
I
he
believe that
died
this movie
from Law and
is
Order in
showing
this movie.
the day that Kevin died and the true end of the Blue's Clues timeline.
Hello there. If you are a binary trader or a newcomer in trading and you experience constant...
Get out.
So, this movie is about Josh, the newest host of Blue's Clues, going on a big adventure to audition for a Broadway musical in New York City.
Hello?
We are definitely not in storybook world anymore.
It's kind of what you'd expect out of a modern-day Blues Clues movie. He goes on a journey to the real world and gets lost. There's lots of wacky hijinks, but in the end, he finds his way and gets the part.
We want you to be the star of our Broadway show.
I can never watch this movie, man.
If you watch this movie,
Not even if you pay me $1 million, I can't watch it.
Take on
I'm gonna zone out real quick.
The first thing that immediately caught me off guard was the opening song.
It's a brand new day.
This song is about starting the day, and Josh keeps saying, "Good morning."
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Blue.
And literally, the first thing we hear Kevin Jeffries say is, "Good morning."
So is Donovan.
Good morning, how are you?
Despite it clearly being night. We also hear this line in Josh's song.
This life is just like a beautiful dream.
This life is just like
A
a
beautiful
beautiful
dream.
dream. Interesting. And while Josh sings, the other characters keep telling him to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
It's a brand new day.
Right away, this movie feels different. Like it's
Oh,
attention to this world is just Kevin's fantasy, and it's time for him to leave it. Josh leaves his fantasy world to go to the audition in New York, just like how Kevin escapes the clinic at the start of the episode. And just like Kevin, Josh immediately seems very disoriented by the outside world.
Yeah, even the way he's acting and all.
Until, of course, his fantasy starts to take over to protect him from reality.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this movie is that for the very first time ever, we get these little glimpses of Blues Clues from other people's perspectives.
Don't you think so, Madam Mustard? Oh? Lovely to meet you. Whoa! Mr. Salt! Mrs. Pepper! Am I glad to see you? Oh my God!
Like I said, this movie feels different. We learn that Josh's audition is at 3 o'clock, and the whole movie is just him trying to find the audition before time runs out.
It's almost time for my audition. Oh my gosh. We don't have much time, Blue.
Could this be why Kevin kept asking people what time it was?
What time is it? What time? What time?
Josh also doesn't know where his audition is. All he knows is that it's in a theater somewhere.
Excuse me. Do you know the address to the theater? Which theater? I don't know which theater.
Maybe this is why Kevin went to a
Yeah.
movie theater after he escaped, because he thought it was his Broadway audition. Now, in the Law and Order episode, shortly after leaving the theater, Kevin gets arrested and then tragically dies in police custody. But that's not what happens in this movie. Josh goes to the theater and gets the part.
We want you to be
Yeah?
the star of our Broadway
That's
show.
in his head.
But instead of him leaving and dying like Kevin, we immediately cut to him performing the musical in a big climactic finale.
My dream is a reality.
The writers of this show.
So, if this movie really is Kevin's final
No words,
escape,
man.
then
I have no
what
words.
if this is what Kevin experiences as
He's
dying?
dying. He gets the big finish. He gets to perform. He gets to do. Yeah.
A massive final magical song where he's surrounded
As
by
he's
all of
dying.
the friends from his fantasy. The only people who ever really understood him. Even the old hosts show up for this final send-off for Kevin.
And thank you for making this a day and an adventure that I will never forget.
I'll never forget how you helped me find all those clues. Thanks again for all your help.
No, really. Now it's over. So long.
And that is sadly where Kevin Jeffries' story ends. Now, I know this final movie theory maybe doesn't have as much evidence as the rest of my theory,
but it still
regardless,
holds up.
like
I
thinking that
cannot
maybe
lie.
Kevin found some peace in his final moments. And yeah, I know that this movie came out 27 years after the Law
Oh,
and Order episode,
2022.
so it's probably a stretch to say that they're still connected. Wait, is that fucking B.D. Wong?
I'm the director of Rainbow Puppy's Broadway musical.
B.D. Wong from Law and Order Josh's musical?
I'm not entirely comfortable labeling the suspect a serial killer.
We want you to be the star of our Broadway show.
Holy shit!
We just figured out Blues Clues. We just figured out Blues Clues. We just figured out Blues Clues.
Because this is my job. This is actually my job. Alright, that is my theory. Thank you so much for watching. Hope I didn't ruin Blues Clues for you. Hey,
I've never watched Blues Clues, but man, I'm never gonna watch it again.
thanks for 1 million subscribers. That's really cool. YouTube sent me this big golden rectangle.
Congratulations, alexbale.
I got
You
that now.
deserve it.
Steve Burns is kind of active on the internet these days.
You deserve it,
If
man.
by some chance you happen to see this Mr. Steve Blues Clues,
You deserve
I'm sure
it.
We would all love to hear your thoughts on this theory, even if that's just him calling me crazy. I'm fine. I'll take it. I got more fan theories on the way.
Is
I'm doing a High School Musical.
High School
one.
Musical.
Maybe.
Shit, I was about to say
maybe a
Hannah
Breaking Bad
Montana.
one. Seemed like people were interested in that, and I've got a bunch of other ideas I'm working on too.
I
So
do know
subscribe to
Cars
those.
is-
Make
that's
sure you hit
Cars.
the bell icon, because sometimes YouTube just randomly decides not to tell people when I upload. Hello, is anyone watching this video? Did YouTube tell anyone I uploaded? I hope so. Speaking of which, I recently posted a compilation of all of the Don't Feed the Muse web series episodes into one long film, and it's got a bunch of brand new content in it, so check that out if you're interested. Thank you to all the patrons who support this channel. If you sign up to my Patreon, you can get access to videos early, behind the scenes content, and your name at the end of the video. Look at all these names.
Yeah, I'm too dumb to figure it out, alexbale. You give me so much credit, and I appreciate you for that. But I'm never figuring out what the next theory is. I'm sorry, man. When it's out, I'm gonna watch it. When it's out, I'm gonna watch it. But you give me too much credit, sir. Yeah. Oh my days. Oh, alexbale, you've done it again. I have never watched Blues Clues before, and I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it, because I'm gonna remember this theory and I'm gonna even get more creeped out than I already was watching some of the scenes in Blues Clues, because I have never sat down to watch a full episode of Blues Clues before. I've only like gazed upon it, glanced at it when probably maybe my cousin or someone or a kid is watching it, so I do know about it. But man, I am not nope. For y'all who watched it and it got ruined for you, I know how it feels, and quite frankly, why are you watching that kind of creepy show? Don't you peep, or didn't you peep that it was kind of off-putting and kind of creepy? Maybe it's just me, but nah, this is why I do what I do, man. This is why I do what I do. I want to feel these emotions, and I am feeling it, and I am excited that I checked this out. I am really excited I checked this out. So yeah, whenever the next theory drops, alexbale, keep it coming. I can't figure it out. I can't. I'm sorry. So yeah, if you want to support the channel, get us to 500k if possible before the year runs out. I'll really appreciate it. I mean, I'm not really asking for anything. Just show support, show your love. You know the deal. And I'll see you guys on the next one. More reactions coming up with League of Legends, Blue Lock, and whatever I decide to come up with. Or if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. I check each and every one of your comments, and I reply to them as well. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.